Here we are with Jeanne Bliss. Thank you very much for having us. So, based on your experience, for our first question, how would you define customer experiences? Since this is our customer experience summit, how would you define it? And what is the role it has in creating memories and connection with customers?
So for me, customer experience is really at the heart of it. How an organization chooses to grow, how they decide to treat their customers, how they make the hard decisions around what they will and will not do, how leaders unite the organization, and at the end of the day, are they improving the life of the customer? Is the customer's goal and their lives what drives the financing, the priorities, the way the silos work together, and the way that leaders talk? And that's a very uncommon way to lead. So for me, it's not about executing tasks, but it's around starting with the life of the customer and reorienting your business so that your customer can say, because I'm with this company, my life is better, and here's how.
Right. And you have mentioned the impact your father had on the community through his shoe store. And yes, so what lessons about humanity in business did you learn from his example, and how do you apply them today?
Sure. I learned about business by watching my dad. You saw my website he had a shoe store, Buster Brown Shoes, which was for children. And what was fascinating was he became a part of the story of people's lives. He put the very first pair of shoes on the feet for the mom. He was there for the ballet recitals, for the graduations, for all of the things along the life. And he remembered people, and they remembered him, and they created a memory which transcended the shoes, which was, where else would we go but to my dad's name, Mr. Lombardo. And what was fascinating was when he retired, a line of people 3 blocks long stood to say goodbye to him. And so my big message is, are you starting with what's your 3 blocks long, really? How do you want to be remembered? It can't be about the thing you sell, because a lot of people can sell the same thing. It's got to be around how you do what you do and how you enable your people, because employees is a huge part of this. How do you enable your people to bring the best version of themselves to work?
Great, and the connection, right? You think about the humanity.
That's right. The heartbeat.
And how can companies incorporate this element, the humanity and the experience in their daily decisions and operations to enhance the customer experience?
Sure. One of the things I encourage people to do is to build what I call a goal map, not a journey map. A lot of times when people are building journey maps, what it is it's an internal view of what you want to get from the customer, right? Acquire, sell, upsell, cross-sell, get a recommendation, have them buy more. That's all about what you want to get, versus a goal map is what you need to do to earn those things. So what are the 5 or 6 key goals that your customer is trying to accomplish? And then how do you reorient the operation of your business around that? And within each of those goals, what are the key memories you want to deliver? How are you going to be different? How are you going to enable your people? Are there, we inadvertently tie our people up in knots with rules and regulations. We've got processes. And what happens is each of those is driven silo by silo. When you start with a goal map, it forces you to come together around this big goal the customer's trying to achieve. It takes all of us to do that. And that's really hard to do.
Yes, it's a challenge. So you've mentioned memory creation as the foundation of a successful experience. And what specific strategies and actions do you suggest for companies to create these unforgettable memories in their customers' minds?
Well, I think that you can't sit in a room on your own and create the memories. You have to bring your customers in and understand what's important to them, what's their goal, and then be inspired by that. For example, Kareem, it was a driving service like Uber, They consider it the Uber of the Middle East. In fact, they got bought by Uber because they were doing so well. They noticed that a certain portion of their car, their service community who was using their car service started to decline. Now, we tend to say, oh, let's send out a survey and find out why. Well, all that will tell you is nothing, because in this situation, they actually went and talked to these people and found out what was going on in their lives and found out they were having children. So they created, and they were inspired, they innovated to create Kareem Kids, which is a service where a car seat is in the car, and you have drivers who are happy to drive children around. You can't find that memory creation out of asking, how did we do? Can you give us a 10? Are we doing well? And we get so wrapped up in the score that we forget about the life. So you need to go out to find out and talk about the life, not in this structured, how was your onboarding? How did we greet you? But rather, what's your life all about and what's important to you? And that will inspire you to do things that are uncommon that people don't do.
To go beyond.
Yeah, well, just to do the things that are important to them.
Great. And you talk about the 5 key acts of leadership bravery. Can you explain what they entail and how these acts can help a company grow and have a lasting legacy?
Well, I think that the first thing is really choosing how you will and will not grow. Being very clear about your set of what I call non-negotiables. The next one is recognizing that your people are the greatest asset of your organization, and you have to hire people who meet your definition of who you are, but then enable them to rise. The third thing is you really need to start with the customer's life, build their goal, and then make it easy for them to do business with you. Don't forget that the blocking and tackling and the hard things that we do, again, inadvertently, are what gets in the way. And it's one little thing that will drive customers away. And then the last thing around bravery is really choosing to take the high road, walking away from those business practices that customers hate, that put your people in a position of having to defend on a regular basis.
Great. And can you share some examples about how a customer-centric strategy in a company transformed its trajectory and made it memorable?
Well, sure. There's lots of organizations that do great things. For example, the Cleveland Clinic, which is a big hospital system in the United States, they decided to call everyone caregivers. Instead, yes, you've got a technical term, which is your lab assistant or whatever. But if you're a caregiver, that means if you walk by a patient's door or you're delivering flowers or you're cleaning a sink, your job is to care for the person in the bed. And when you give people permission to do that, now they transcend. They go beyond being a technician to being someone who has permission to do more.
Permission to do more. That's a great insight. And we talk about this, and this means changes in the companies, right? And so
Right.
what are the competencies that a leader should possess to successfully lead this, the transformation?
The biggest thing is you have to unite the C-suite to come together to agree on what, for me, what the goals are. Then you have to really build in the competencies around listening to the customer in a real way, not just to validate who we are, rethinking how you measure, how do you reward people, what are the key performance indicators that are important to the customer. For example, there's another healthcare company that instead of measuring how long you're sitting in the office waiting, which is a good metric, they measure how many days of work you missed because they didn't get you well fast enough. So we're not measuring the things that are about life improvement. And then there's many, many more, but those are the big ones.
Great. And we've been talking a lot about these changes, but also technology is a main driver of transformations in all types of companies, industries. So how can companies balance the adoption of new technologies and advanced technologies, but also preserving the authenticity and this humanity with interaction? Because you have like this all new technologies that are meant to be more efficient and help you, but not to lose this humanity, this touch.
Well, we need to have a balance of high tech and high touch. You know, it's not about just creating a great app, because at the end of the app is a human being. So if you've got an app and it'll tell you when your refrigerator repairman will show up, but you haven't hired people who put booties on their feet and are cautious about your home and take care of things and keep you up to date, then you're putting yourself in a position of letting technology do everything and not recognizing that you've got to really connect the humans into the experience.
Great. And for our last question, so how would you resume this challenge that our companies are having in terms of creating this long-lasting customer experience and relationships with the customers? Just like a final conclusion.
Don't try to do too much. See, I think what happens is every silo builds their task list, and now the CEO looks at 200 things and it's overwhelming. Instead, say, if we've got 5 big goals, the customer's important to the customer, let's start with the first one and learn how to work together and then go from there.
Great. Well, Jeanne, thank you very much for all your insights and for talking to us.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure, and I hope you're all having a wonderful conference.
Thank you.